Challenges of Childhood. This is Dr. Ain coming in to you to kind of highlight week 4, January 31st through February 6th. So, wanted to give you a recap of the content that we will be diving into for this week. So it is societal trends. We're looking at some of the highlights. To name a few, obesity versus active lifestyles versus sedentary lifestyles. We have exploring the whole realm of impacts of nutrition, adverse if you're not having a healthy diet for children. All of this with a highlight on obesity, as well as we can do an emphasis on the contrary, which would be eating disorders. So that's all encompassing. And another big hot topic that has been trending for quite some time is the adverse effects of screen time, and diving into that. What are the benefits of living in a technological society that's ever advancing versus what are the challenges of childhood, the challenges that children face when there are not parameters set, be it time or exposure to, etc., etc., etc. What do we do with violence or inappropriate aged visuals that can be locked into a mind of a young child? So depending on the age, depending on the developmental stage, lots of factors that come into that. So we are going to take a deep dive into screen time and looking at the societal trends affecting screen time on the minds of children. So we have a couple learning outcomes, describe the challenging roles and lifestyle, not only on that child but on the families, because we know many times there are very, very active caregivers that are engaged with that child, but there are times, and a lot of us have been guilty with this, I know I have, of sometimes you have things, I have a to-do list I need to do, and sometimes it is of benefit to have the child with a screen, and getting where schools, especially in now when we have been catapulted into a virtual learning environment, for those of us that weren't even online programs, this has taken all the way down to preschoolers, that their schooling has went online and taken on a virtual component, which means then screens are even more prominent. So there was a study, I don't know if you have seen this, or some things been flying around on social media as well. For the last 2 or 3 years now, there are several students, younger children, that have never been in a traditional school setting because they have only known their education environment to be COVID related and the implications of COVID. So there are many that have been brought into a virtual learning environment that would not have done so otherwise. So some of it is, I say that to pre-amplify that a lot of us have been brought into a virtual requiring screen times that otherwise maybe would not have chosen that. So we have to figure the screen time in that are for educational purposes and purposes that can be perceived as positive experiences, plus coupling that with what children often find to be relaxing or fun or entertaining screen time. So we're bringing that in as well, which is only adding to the amount of time that there is a screen in front of children. So monitoring that. And I have a couple articles. One is Facing the Screen Time Dilemma. I want you to read these articles. I encourage you to, and just sit back, kind of brainstorm it, reflect on your childhood, reflect on your experiences, children that you know, or even yourself and your experiences now. We all have that where I'm on my screen. This is natural. This is just kind of my go-to now for what I do when I'm sitting idle for any period of time. And that struggle, that inner struggle that we have, that I really should probably put this down and engage with the people that are actually in the room rather than being in the room with people that I care about and then engaging social media wise with someone that's not in the room. Or we have the struggle that I'm on the screen, I'm just kind of addicted to doing this. I don't really call it an addiction, but I do it a lot. And sometimes I just need to put down the phone, put it away, put the device away, and maybe I need to just go to sleep, or I need to have time to just relax my mind and think without just aimlessly staring at a screen that can have benefits but also a lot of adverse effects that at the time we don't even fully realize how far outreaching those effects can be. The other one, the article is an internet use and gaming risks. This article brings on a specific attribute to risky behavior, and children in this study, often males, that are engaging in gaming that is of violent nature or very physical nature. This can be video gaming, or this can also be screen times, movies, things of the nature that are very, very violent. So it is linked to that there is more mental distress as well as acting out risky behavior. So it poses the question, is this use of gaming and kind of hunt for the screen entertained with violence, is that a precursor, or is it a subquel to something already going on that's having them seek that, or is the screens and the violence leading to that? So which comes first, the chicken or the egg kind of a scenario. So pay attention to both of those. I encourage you to review both articles, and then I want to hear your thoughts on that. So one of the assignments is going to be to go into the discussion board. You can take either article, the screen time in general, where it's education, positive effects that technological society can contribute versus adverse effects, or the one that's specifically geared a little more towards gaming and violence, and that and the adverse effects that can have on a child and on their mind as they're in their formative years. So you can take on one of those. One discussion board post of 5 to 8 scholarly, substantial responses, please, sentences. You do not need, I'm not going to require for you to go in, although I think it's very beneficial that you do. I'm not going to require that you go in and respond and comment on other students. However, I do feel like that would be very beneficial, because I anticipate strong contributions in this discussion board post. The other assignment you're going to be doing is you're just going to identify a concern that you have, a societal concern. And specifically, to kind of help jumpstart this, think of possibly societal trends. Could be religion, having the religion or the lack of religion, as we've mentioned, violence. What is that like if you're being raised and rooted and growing in an environment that's very violent? If that's mental, physical, the emotional can be just as bad as the physical, and we know that as well. Obesity, again, leading to the increase in screen time, goes hand in hand right into the issues with obesity. Social media and screen times can put also on the opposite end of the spectrum an ideal image of certain people have things just perfect, and I do not. Therefore, I'm going to obsess until I get that, and I'm not going to be confident and comfortable in my own skin until I see or have what I'm viewing on the screens, because we all know we put a much different face forward oftentimes, and that's not fair to do, especially to a child that just spends hours and hours obsessing over what they don't have and what is not even realistic. At least for an adult, once we formulate other parts of our brain that can pull in and can analyze that on a much more realistic, through more realistic lenses, oftentimes children cannot, depending on, again, where they are in their developmental stages and their ages. It can be very detrimental to a child going through certain things, or at critical ages. It can be a detriment. So we want to be fully aware of that as well. Poverty. How does socioeconomic status impact a child? The societal trends of finances. Human trafficking has been on the radar as well. What is that? What are the implications of that, and how can we help combat that? What about mental health issues that are ever on the rise, whether it's the child or it's a caregiver that's caring for that child, and how does that impact the child? Access to health care, different education. There's a wide variety of education and how that is delivered to the child, and caregivers' thought processes regarding education can impact the child. Medication versus trying alternative means. Divorce, children that have lost a parent, witnessed traumatic events as a child, children that are being raised by alternative people in their lives or grandparents. All of these things come in, and hopefully something that I have listed off here, or something you've already identified yourself, is going to spur a passion inside of you that's going to billow up, and you're not going to be able to contain it because you want to make a difference in that area, and to try to help combat a challenge of childhood. So knowing that your resource presentation is coming up, your research paper, this can be a great springboard into prepping for those assignments, and you can continue to build on that, thus setting yourself up for success, because you'll already have several steps in the right direction for these assignments, setting you up again for that success. The only other thing that I have for you this week, and again, there's a PowerPoints available if you want to review those. There is an ACEs quiz that is mentioned, and that is another tab on here that you can link to an actual podcast that is offered by the CDC, and it's an interesting, I want you to hop on that and give me your thoughts on just bad memories, adverse effects on childhood, and how that is, if not addressed early, can take root and take hold and affect then into adolescence and into young adulthood, and then just the circle can continue if some things are generational circles that we need to stop. And if we have early intervention, we identify things early, and there's a willingness to stop that cycle, we can get resources in and available. Otherwise, it will continue, and the things that you didn't like as a child, you will then expose for your children, and it can just continue. So we want to be aware of that. So this podcast is actually termed Bad Memories. That has a very negative connotation. I used to think I like to refer to it more as adverse effects, but hurdles that we can surmount, and we can either ourselves have surmounted in our lives, hurdles that come along, challenges that we face, but then on the other side we look back and they made us stronger. So we want to offer that to children as well. Identifying hurdles that they're facing, help them scale those hurdles with the resources and the support that they need, setting them up for success as they cross the finish line of childhood. So take just a few minutes. This is a 5-minute podcast. Listen to that, and then take the ACEs quiz. That is Adverse Childhood Experiences. So just for yourself, it can be informative and helpful for you to see what your score would be based off of your childhood. knowing that some of the adverse effects that we have could have been avoidable and some are not. So no one has the perfect childhood, no one has the perfect life. We are all going to face challenges, and that is the point. Learning how to effectively overcome challenges and come out stronger and look behind and help those coming behind that face similar challenges. So those are the assignments. Basically, the ACES one I want you to do for your information and to be helpful for you in that way. Basically, you're going to have the two assignments, though, the discussion board post and then a small paper highlighting one of the societal concerns that you see. And again, it does not have to be, but it may be smart to have that be what you're going to build upon for your resource presentation in your research paper. So have a great week. Let me know if I can help in any way. If one of these societal concerns or trends sparks an interest in you and lights that passion or fuse for you, please reach out to me so I can get you on my list that's going to be your topic moving forward, and you can claim that and go ahead and knock some of those assignments out, or at least get a jump start on them. Have a super week. I am here if I can help you in any way. Please reach out. Bye.